Welcome to our channel. Today, we will discuss the Brazil alien incident, which stands out as a significant and peculiar case in UFO history. In January 2024, a video suddenly went viral. The video was filmed by a Brazilian girl named Sarah while she was on vacation with her family on Brazilian island of Ilha do Mel. Ilha do Mel is located in the southeastern part of Brazil, in the South Atlantic. Due to the opposite seasons in the northern and southern hemispheres, December to February is summer in Brazil, making it a popular holiday destination for Brazilians. Ilha do Mel is also a great place for research institutes in Brazil to study vegetation. Sarah mentioned that the video was filmed on January 10th when the weather on the island was mild. Sarah and her family had just finished hiking on several small hills on the island, and were preparing to return to their hotel for rest. Suddenly, Sarah looked up and saw a giant figure with strange behavior appearing instantly on the nearby mountaintop. Sarah's family and the surrounding tourists were baffled because, from their vantage point, the height of the giant was estimated to be at least 3 meters or more. However, just an hour before, Sarah's family hadn't seen any visitors on that mountain. Where did this giant come from? Sarah quickly took out her phone and recorded the giant's peculiar behavior. While Sarah and the people around her were discussing in amazement where the giant could have come from, the giant suddenly descended from the mountaintop, astonishingly fast, covering a distance of over 200 meters on the mountain path in about 10 seconds. The giant disappeared without a trace, moving at such incredible speed that even running couldn't match. This was definitely beyond what a human could accomplish. Sarah and her family were still shaken when they returned to the hotel, and they heard another chilling piece of news. Almost at the same time on that day, 2 similar giants appeared on the beach of Ilha do Mel. However, the beach was relatively empty, with few tourists, and the few visitors present were immersed in the seawater. Therefore, there were only eyewitness accounts and rumors, unlike Sarah, who captured the footage on the mountain. After returning home, Sarah immediately uploaded the video to social media, causing a sensation in Brazil. Many Brazilians firmly believed that the giants appearing on Ilha do Mel must be descendants of extraterrestrials. Why were these people so convinced? It was because, 800 kilometers away from Ilha do Mel, in a city where a capture of an extraterrestrial event had shocked the world, occurred 28 years ago. Let's turn back the clock to the year 1996, in a city located 800 kilometers away from Ilha do Mel. This city is called Varginha, and that's where our story unfolds. Varginha belongs to the state of Minas Gerais in Brazil and is a small city with a population of approximately 120,000 people. However, it has gained significant fame due to its thriving coffee industry and excellent coffee varieties. On January 20, 1996, a Saturday, 3 young girls were walking home together in Varginha. They were Katia, 22 years old, Valkyria, 14 years old, and Lilian, 16 years old, with Valkyria and Lilian being sisters. As they strolled through the neighborhood, they chattered happily. Suddenly, the weather took a turn. It started to rain and the wind picked up, forcing the girls to take a shortcut and run back home. At that moment, something bizarre occurred. As the girls ran past an abandoned lot, they suddenly caught a whiff of a terrible odor. It was like the smell of numerous rotten eggs being cracked open all at once. Perplexed, they wondered where the stench was coming from. As they looked around, Katia let out a piercing scream when she noticed something against a wall. The other 2 girls followed her gaze and were horrified by what they saw. There, crouched next to the abandoned wall, was an unidentified creature. It had a humanoid body structure, but it couldn't be called human due to its extremely slender limbs. Its entire body was covered in a rubbery brown skin with vein-like markings. The creature had a massive head with 2 red eyes devoid of pupils, and on its head were 3 large circular protuberances. The 3 girls stood frozen, locking eyes with the creature for a few seconds before unleashing a piercing scream in unison. Startled, the creature began leaping and jumping around, seemingly in a state of fright. It moved erratically, shaking its head vigorously, as if it was about to pounce on the girls. The girls were terrified and quickly turned around to run away. As they fled, they glanced back and noticed that the creature had suddenly stopped, as if injured, and slowly crouched back near the wall where they had first seen it. Gasping for breath, Lilian and Valkyria ran back home and reported to their mother that they had seen a demon in broad daylight on the street. Their mother, a strong-willed woman, was skeptical and couldn't believe such a thing. She exclaimed, "Oh, come on. Is this some kind of joke? You two lead the way." Led by Katya, the 2 sisters and their neighbors hurriedly arrived at the wall. However, by that time, the creature had vanished. All that remained was a puddle-like imprint on the ground and a lingering, strong stench. But the area around the wall was now crowded with curious onlookers, eager to witness the commotion. A bricklayer working nearby informed Lilian and her mother, "You're too late. Just a few minutes ago, the fire department from Varginha arrived and took away that strange creature." The news of the fire department capturing an extraterrestrial quickly spread throughout Varginha. However, the fire department soon stepped forward to debunk the rumors. They stated that while their personnel did pass by the area near the abandoned wall in their vehicle, it was merely a routine patrol. They emphasized that they had never encountered or captured any extraterrestrial being, referring to the so-called ET creature. However, the fire department's debunking statement failed to stop the spread of rumors. Instead, another rumor started circulating throughout Varginha, claiming that the military had captured the ET creature. In Brazil, the fire department is a militarized organization, usually under the jurisdiction of the state's military fire department. Therefore, eyewitnesses who saw uniformed individuals capturing the extraterrestrial believed that it was military personnel, not the fire department. Since it wasn't the fire department involved, people assumed it must have been military personnel from another branch. The rumor of the military capturing an ET creature gained traction, and in this context, the term military referred specifically to the Federal Regular Army, not the police force. As soon as the unusual events were discovered in Varginha, the small city witnessed an influx of army and military police vehicles within a few days. The 2 major hospitals in Varginha, Regional Hospital and Humanitarian Hospital, were surrounded by barricades, with military vehicles parked outside. It's important to note that Varginha had a population of only 120,000 in 2020, and it was even smaller with fewer than 100,000 people in 1996. The arrival of the military and the blockading of streets was a significant and sensational event that everyone in the city could witness. Prior to the incident, residents had not received any warnings or notifications, so the sudden military presence caused an uproar throughout the entire city. Hospital staff members were restricted from revealing any information about what was happening inside the hospitals. However, based on disclosures from doctors' relatives, on January 20th, the Army delivered an unidentified creature and a young soldier to the hospitals. The hospitals accepted only the soldier and refused to admit the creature. The whereabouts of the creature remain unknown, but the fate of the young soldier was well known. Marco, just 23 years old, was already in a comatose state when he was brought to the regional hospital. The doctors diagnosed him with pneumonia and a systemic infection. Despite administering antibiotics, which proved ineffective, the hospital transferred Marco to the better-equipped humanitarian hospital. Upon admission, Marco was immediately placed in the intensive care unit, ICU. The hospital administered the most advanced antibiotics available at the time, but to their astonishment, Marco's immune system was in a state of complete paralysis. The antibiotics had no effect, behaving like plain water. The doctors exhausted all their efforts but couldn't determine the cause of Marco's condition. Unfortunately, after 1 month of hospitalization, Marco passed away. As a result, people in Varginha speculated that Marco had tragically contracted extraterrestrial bacteria while capturing the ET creature, leading to his untimely death. This led to a frenzy throughout Brazil. The news of the military capturing an extraterrestrial spread rapidly, and the media quickly seized the sensational story. Even the Wall Street Journal, despite being separated by the Caribbean Sea, reported on the incident with the headline, "Stinky Extraterrestrials," catching the attention of the Brazilian UFO community. Actually, the Wall Street Journal's overall tone in its coverage was that there were no extraterrestrials involved, and it was all speculation fabricated by the Brazilians themselves. The journalist didn't personally investigate the situation in Brazil but wanted to capitalize on the hype surrounding the incident. They quickly compiled various materials to write an article. However, the fact that this event made it to the Wall Street Journal is enough to illustrate that the capture of an extraterrestrial in Brazil was one of the most sensational third-kind encounters globally in 1996. Of course, in Brazil, it was the most sensational event for UFO experts, media outlets, and curious individuals, who all flocked to Varginha in an attempt to find the Silva sisters, the alleged first eyewitnesses, and Katia. Interviews with these 3 girls immediately flooded both major and minor media outlets in Brazil. Every Brazilian was discussing one question: where did the army hide the ET creature? Due to mounting public pressure and accusations of government and military cover-up, the Brazilian army was compelled to respond. They announced the initiation of a military police investigation to provide the public with an explanation. Did the army really capture an extraterrestrial? After 7 months, the investigation report was officially released, spanning over 300 pages. This report can be considered the world's first comprehensive government investigation report on an extraterrestrial event made public for the people. In the 1947 Roswell incident in New Mexico, USA, the U.S. Air Force issued a statement through the media to debunk the claims and did not release an investigation report to the public. Brazil set a precedent with the Varginha Brown alien incident, which is why it holds particular importance in the UFO chronicles. The Brazilian army had no choice but to respond with an official report, indicating the magnitude of the incident and the significant impact it had on the local society. Despite the extensive investigation report spanning over 300 pages, it can be summarized into 3 main points. First, the 3 girls did not witness any extraterrestrial being, but rather encountered a man named Mugginho. Mugginho was a resident of Varginha and lived in the neighborhood near the girls' homes. At the time, Mugginho had just turned 30 years old and had a history of mental illness. His physical development was also abnormal, with a larger head compared to an average person. Mugginho was often seen squatting on the street or mumbling to himself at the corner of the wall. On January 20th, coincidentally, Mugginho was squatting by the wall and was mistakenly identified as an extraterrestrial by the 3 girls. That's what the report states. The second point in the report is that after January 20th, the army and military police vehicles appeared in Varginha. However, their presence was not to seal off the hospital but rather part of a routine inspection. The report does not mention the specifics of the inspection or why the army and military police were deployed. However, the military prosecutor at the time, Antonio, firmly stated in the report that no national government, institution, or military force in Brazil was involved in the capture and transportation of extraterrestrial beings. The third point in the report is that the death of Army soldier Marco was unrelated to extraterrestrial beings. Marco was not involved in any events related to extraterrestrials. The cause of Marco's death was attributed to a failed surgery. He had a cyst under his left armpit, and during the surgical procedure, there were complications that led to sepsis. As a result, Marco passed away quickly. When the report was released, the people of Varginha reacted strongly. While it is true that Mugginho was often seen wandering the streets, the idea that the three girls mistook him for an extraterrestrial seemed far-fetched. Additionally, when the fire truck carried away the supposed extraterrestrial, neighbors and onlookers gathered to witness the event. Therefore, there were many eyewitnesses present, and several people clearly saw the peculiar creature and even smelled the strong, nauseating odor resembling rotten eggs, which left a lasting impression. So, regardless of what the girls actually saw, people believed it couldn't possibly be the homeless man Mugginho. The Brazilian media mobilized in all directions to investigate the incident. At the time, one of Brazil's most popular television programs, O Show da Vida, the Show of Life, dug up an important piece of information. This television show was widely recognized as one of the most beloved programs in Brazil at that time. In the show, it was mentioned that a week before the Silva sisters' sighting of the ET extraterrestrial, a farmer in the vicinity of Varginha had discovered a peculiar flying object. On January 13th, in the early hours of the morning, the farmer named Aurelina was abruptly awakened by the sounds of her own cattle herd on the farm. Aurelina immediately woke up her husband, and together they went to the window to see what was happening. To their astonishment, they witnessed their herd of livestock behaving as if they had gone mad, desperately trying to squeeze out of the barn. Just as the couple was about to go closer to investigate, they suddenly looked up and saw an object flying in the sky. The flying object was approximately the size of a bus, entirely gray in color, and emitting smoke around it. However, this smoke was not like the thick smoke commonly seen. To be precise, it resembled a dense fog. Despite the object being so close, the couple did not hear any noise or see any lights. They observed the object flying lower and lower, slowly heading towards a nearby highway called BR 381. At the same time, a pilot was driving on BR 381, also spotted the flying object. The pilot, named Carlos, was on an overnight drive to another area, preparing to participate in a small aircraft flight show scheduled for 2 days later. As a pilot, Carlos' first thought upon seeing the flying object was UFO because he was certain it didn't have the shape of an airplane or any familiar human aircraft. Carlos watched in disbelief as the object crashed into a dense forest not far from the highway. His curiosity was piqued, and he immediately exited the highway to track the object's trail. An hour later, when Carlos found the crash site within the forest, he was astonished to see that it was already surrounded by the army and military police. It seemed natural to him since he himself had witnessed it. Through the human chain formed by soldiers and military police, Carlos caught a glimpse of the wreckage on the ground. There were some gray fragments resembling metallic pieces scattered around the wreckage. However, as Carlos quickly scanned the scene, he didn't notice any signs of extraterrestrial beings. Just as he was about to take a closer look, he was intercepted by fully armed military police officers, who verbally warned him not to disclose what he had witnessed and promptly escorted him away from the scene. Regarding the clues later disclosed by the media, with named witnesses, the Brazilian military completely ignored them and remained silent. According to the military's official investigation report, they categorically stated that they had never encountered UFOs, let alone extraterrestrial beings. However, many Brazilians firmly believe that a UFO crashed near Varginha, and an extraterrestrial pilot emerged from the wreckage but was subsequently captured and taken away by the Brazilian military. As for the fate of this extraterrestrial being, there are two possible scenarios according to the estimation of the Brazilian people. 1. Deceased. This belief is not unfounded, as a biologist from the Varginha Zoo spoke out in opposition to the military's report. The biologist's name is Leila Cabral, and although her primary workplace is an office building outside the zoo, She decided to check on the animal's conditions due to heavy rainfall on January 20th. Just as Layla arrived at the entrance of the zoo, the security guard informed her that the personnel from the fire department had come earlier. They had wandered around the zoo with a strange animal and then left, asking the guard to pass on a message to Layla that they would return later to show her the animal. However, the personnel from the fire department never returned, and Layla almost forgot about this incident. In the following days, a series of mysterious animal deaths began to occur in the zoo. Within a month, a total of 6 large mammals died, including deer, tapirs, and ocelots. Layla was incredibly busy during this time, quickly sending the animal carcasses to the laboratory at the Federal University of Minas Gerais for examination. The results revealed an unidentified toxic corrosive substance present in the bodies of several animals. The stomach and intestinal mucosa of these animals were blackened by this substance. Layla initially suspected that the animals had been poisoned through their food. However, the animals had different habits, were housed in different areas of the zoo, and ate different types of food. It was puzzling how they could all be poisoned simultaneously. According to the internal investigation conducted by the zoo, it was unlikely that the zookeepers had intentionally poisoned the animals. This problem continued to trouble Layla. It wasn't until she read the reports about the 3 girls' encounter with the extraterrestrial being and the army soldier, Marco, that she connected the dots between the animal deaths and the extraterrestrial presence. Layla believed that the extraterrestrial being carried some form of alien microorganism, which infected Marco and subsequently infected the unfortunate animals in the zoo through a unique method of transmission, leading to their deaths. Regarding the outcome of the brown extraterrestrial, biologist Layla believes that the Earth's environment could be lethal to it, so it wouldn't be able to survive for long. Another ending sounds even more conspiratorial, suggesting that the extraterrestrial was taken by the military to a university located 300 kilometers away from Varginha. The university is called Universidade Estadual de Campinas, State University of Campinas, and is a public institution. It is considered one of the top universities in Brazil and even in all of Latin America. Campinas State University is particularly renowned for its research institutes, and its biology research institution and medical school are among the best in Brazil. The speculation about this ending stems from reports that students at Campinas State University did witness military vehicles on the campus at the end of January 1996. Furthermore, the biology building on the campus was sealed off for a period of time. These circumstances led people to speculate that the extraterrestrial was taken to Campinas State University for experimentation. As for the nature of the experiments, it remains highly classified, and regardless of media attempts to contact Campinas State University for inquiries, the university has never responded. After the Brazilian army released their debunking report, although speculations persisted, they gradually subsided. The news about the brown extraterrestrial vanished without a trace and was slowly forgotten. Almost 30 years passed, and it wasn't until Sarah's video went viral on social media that Brazilians remembered this long-forgotten event. So, what exactly was the giant creature that appeared on the Ilha do Mel? Was it an escaped monster from Campinas State University's Biology Research Institute, as depicted in many movie plots? Or was it simply a prank by mischief makers? Could someone have used image editing software to manipulate ordinary tourists into the image of the giant creature? Perhaps further investigation is needed. Well, that concludes today's story. Thank you, everyone.